The Reporter's Report is brought to you by the Foundation for Artistic Radio Telecommunication Sciences and the Jean and Jeannette Lambaster Trust. Fear. It's a terrifying thing. From the soldier in the heat of battle, to the young child on their tricycle seeing a clown for the first time on a Florida afternoon, fear pervades all of our lives. The stories we tell about fear are the stories that help us remember what fear is. My guest today is Louis Appleseed, author of Dance Macabre, Dance of Darkness, My Dance with Destiny. Louis is a New York Times bestseller and runs his own blog. The time is 7:30 p.m. It's October 30th, 2019, and this is Reporter's Report. The studio's chilled to 68 degrees. The clock is ticking on the wall. The producers are scrambling to get the next show ready. I'm sitting across from Louis Appleseed. He checks his watch, syncing it with the clock. Is this some sort of reporting strategy? One can only guess. He checks his pocket. Perhaps he has forgotten his keys. He hasn't noticed a stain on his shirt yet. Louis, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about why you wrote this book. Why did you want to tell this story? How did you tell this story? What allowed you to gain the courage to tell this story?
Well, I had no why to tell this story. I simply had to. I had no choice. If I were to keep this story to myself, I don't think I would ever sleep another wink. After this happened to me, I've had raging insomnia. I've been unable to return to my normal day-to-day life. My cats don't like me anymore. And just what happened to me that night was by far the most bizarre lead I've ever chased in my whole 20 years in journalism.
I have insomnia as well.
I'm sorry to hear that. It's a terrible affliction. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
One thing that helps, at least calm me down, is I'll drink about half a bottle of NyQuil. And I won't fall asleep, but I won't be as frustrated throughout the rest of the night.
I should try that.
Yeah.
So this book, there's no why. But after reading it, it felt like there was a why. But not one that's necessarily apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the intrigue is the why isn't really apparent to me either, and that's why I've been writing it, is to try to figure out why I am writing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a saying about that, about putting things together.
As you do them.
As you do them. Yeah. Process. 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 So, what started this? What started this story?
Oh, well, it was really just a regular afternoon. I was on my way to Nashville, actually, to interview Elvis Presley's granddaughter. She had just won a 6th grade gymnastics competition, and she did a triple backflip, which a 6th grader's never done. So I was really excited to interview her, not just because she was Elvis Presley's granddaughter, but because she accomplished such an amazing athletic feat.
Now, as an independent reporter, are these the stories you normally cover?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm extremely intrigued by children who do amazing things that most adults can't even do. Before I was actually headed to Nashville to interview her, I was in upstate New York, and I was interviewing this young man. He was 6 years old, and he just walked across the country like Forrest Gump, and that was an amazing story. His feet were extremely blistered and bruised, but wow, the stories he told me of Middle America were fascinating.
Have you heard of Algebra Baby?
No. What do you mean, like algebra? Like the type of mathematics?
No. Algebra baby.
Like it's a baby
It's
who
a
does...
pretty famous video on YouTube.
No.
It's a baby doing algebra.
Really?
Yeah, here, I'll pull up a video.
Do you know where they live? I would love to interview her.
Yeah, they're in Connecticut.
Connecticut? Mm-hmm. I was just in New York.
Sorry, this commercial.
Missed opportunities.
It won't let me skip the ad. 3 seconds.
It's a 30-second ad?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so that's her doing algebra.
Wow.
She uses Cheerios.
That's remarkable. Mm-hmm. I would love to sit her down and really interview her.
That was like, I think that was 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. So she's probably like 11, 12?
Probably.
So if she was doing algebra then, mm-hmm. I mean, just imagine what she's accomplishing now.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to have to track her down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll have to buy Yellow Pages. I'll figure that out later.
Sure. Did you want to watch the rest of the video, or do you kind of got the gist of it?
I have the general idea.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what was the catalyst for you to take this lead? Because it seems like, especially going against your MO, what enticed you to...
Yeah, so as I was saying, I was on my way to Nashville, mm-hmm. and on my way there, I was passing through a small town in Illinois, Grovesport, which I'd never heard of before. Very strange town. The people were very friendly, but in a very off-kilter way. Like they wouldn't look at you dead in the eyes. They wouldn't look at your face. They would look just slightly to the right of your face or to the left. Some of them to the left. But I stopped at a bar, just to grab a drink. It was, about 3 o'clock, and I overheard these two gentlemen sitting just a few bar stools away from me talking about this elusive figure who'd lived in Grovesport his whole life, who'd just passed away. I guess he went by the name of Saint Creepy. And when I heard that name, something in me told me to listen up more and eavesdrop, because I've never heard of anyone by that name. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a bizarre name.
I knew a kid in 6th grade named Sal Creepson.
Okay.
Yeah. A few kids used to call him Creepy.
Creepy, yeah.
But he didn't like it. So
but he wasn't a saint.
He wasn't a saint, no.
Yeah, they called
and
it...
after he said he didn't like it, we stopped calling him Saint Creepy.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Well, Creepy, not Saint Creepy.
Yeah. So this guy's name, he was Saint Creepy. Mm-hmm. And so right away, I was like, well, Creepy, that's interesting last name, but a saint. What sort of saint is he? And everyone was talking about him like this. And so, I bought the gentleman a drink, and I started asking them more questions about this. And I guess there was a very reclusive man, very wealthy, who lived on the outskirts of Grovesport, where the trees met the town. There's sort of a forest that goes on for quite a ways at the edge of town, and there's a little creek that runs through there. But on the very edge of it, on a hill, there's this enormous mansion that no one's ever been into, no one's ever seen up close besides driving by. And they were saying that this man, Saint Creepy, had just passed away, and that in honor of his passing away, they were going to have an open house, and they were inviting the town to come and see this mansion that they've all been wondering about for years, 50, 60, 70 years this man has lived there. And there was such an air of mystery around the situation, and all the townspeople that I talked to were very, very excited to go and see this mansion. They all had so many questions about this man, and there were lots of rumors about him, that he was some sort of black magician, that he worked with the dark arts, that he was a serial killer, that he was a ghost, that there were so many rumors that all contradicted each other. And I know one thing. The rumors might not be true, but when someone has that many rumors around them, something's happening.
Something must be happening.
And my reporter instincts kicked in, and I knew I just had to sniff out that story. So, I had to call Elvis Presley's granddaughter, and I had to cancel, unfortunately. So if you're listening to this, Lila, I'm sorry I had to cancel, but we'll get down to the I'll get down there. We can do the interview. I apologize, but that's kind of how it all started. So the open house was the next night. So I decided, can I swear on this podcast?
No, you can't.
I decided, fuck it. I'm going to, rent an Airbnb and stay here a night. So the next night I could go to this open house and sort of see what this illustrious figure everyone was so afraid of was all about.
How do you like Airbnb?
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. As a reporter, being on the road a lot, it really comes in handy. And you can find really cool places on there. Not your same old boring Holiday Inn or Motel 6.
Sure.
Like, for example, when I was in Grovesport, I ended up staying in a really large birdhouse that was in someone's backyard.
Wow, yeah.
There were lots of birds in there.
That's a nice alternative for sure.
Yeah, it was cool. It was up in a tree.
Wow.
There was a bird bath on the ground level, so if I needed to use that, I could. It was only $20
For the bath?
Oh, for the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, that's a good deal.
It was awesome. It really was.
Okay. Yeah.
And considering, I really don't need the creature comforts most people are accustomed to.
Well, I mean, so many people get murdered in motel rooms.
I know.
So walk us through moment to moment when you got to the mansion, St. Creepy's mansion.
St. Creepy's mansion, yeah.
To call it that?
That is correct. That's at least what was on the sign on the gate outside.
I see.
So it's a extremely large mansion. It's painted all black, stained glass windows. On the outside, there's about a 20-foot fence that surrounds the whole building.
Now, when I was reading your book, I noticed you spend a considerable amount of time describing this fence. 24 pages by my count. Please share with us why this fence was so significant.
Yeah. It was just so tall.
Right, yeah. You said 20 feet. Right?
20 feet tall. It stretched all the way around the house. I walked the perimeter. And
How deep was it, the fence? Because you do such an amazing job just intricately and masterfully describing this fence. I mean, everything down to the the welding and the engravings and even down to the little individual pieces of rust on every fence pole. But you never mentioned the depth of the fence, and that's been haunting me. As much as this whole story has been haunting you.
Yeah, please don't corner me with questions like that.
So you get to this fence, and you're at the gates, and what's the first thing you see?
Well, I see these very large cats that are perched on top of the fence, all domestic, short hairs, your standard cats, but they were just slightly larger than an average cat. They were very fat. I would say if your average, bigger cat weighs about like 10 pounds, these are probably around like 15, 16, and they were very friendly, and there were 4 of them just perched on either side of the fence, and then there was a gate in the middle with a long driveway leading up to the mansion. And the cats were really friendly and nice, and they were meowing at me and purring, and then they started to like flip over onto their backs like as if they wanted their belly rubbed. So,
but you couldn't pet them.
Well, I tried to pet them.
Right, but they were 20 feet in the air.
Well, yes, but I the woods were right there. I got a couple logs. I stacked them on top of each other, and I was able to at least reach the cat's tail. So I was yanking on the cat's tail, trying to yank it off the fence so I could at least, oblige and rub its belly.
What was the structural integrity of this log structure you had going on?
Oh, well, they seemed freshly chopped. I just found them in the woods, and there was a bit of a clearing in the area, so I was assuming someone cut down a tree, which is extremely disappointing because it was in the middle of the forest. There was no reason to cut down this tree unless it was infected or something.
Which would have terribly hindered the structural integrity of the whole thing if it was rotting through.
It wasn't rotting, luckily.
So it wasn't infected?
No, they weren't infected, no. They're probably about 4 feet in diameter. I rolled them over from the clearing, and I stacked them on top of each other, and I climbed on top of them.
Part 1 of Part 1 is continued in Part 2 of Part 1 of The Reporter's Report.